Hey, what's up guys? I wanted to quickly take the time and share what my latest album title means to me, Above the Water. Really just wanted to do a raw interview and kind of share my heart. This past season of my life, the past year or so was the hardest, most difficult year that I've ever faced in my entire life. Everything was going fine. I was recording, I was going hard on my next album and so excited. And out of nowhere, I tear my meniscus. Not a big deal, right? I knew I was gonna bounce back, but low-key kind of fell into just depression. My wife was pregnant at the time and I was super frustrated because I couldn't help her at all. I was stuck in a chair. Obviously it killed the recording process. I couldn't make it up the stairs to my studio. That was very frustrating to me. Right when I got better, my wife and I ended up moving to another spot, and so we had to pack up my studio, unpack it, and then 3 weeks after that, I got the worst phone call of my life. I remember picking up the phone, and it was my mom on the other line, and I just remember knowing something had really gone wrong. Just by the tone in her voice. And my mom told me that my dad had been rushed to the ER and that it didn't look good and that she'd call me with updates. I was just devastated. I remember, crying and my wife came in and to comfort me. And a few minutes later, I called my brother. He was already at the hospital and he told me that the doctors basically said that he has a less than 10% chance at surviving. And so my world was just rocked. That started a 3-month-long process where my dad underwent 6 major surgeries. During that process, 5 different times we were told that he would not make it through the night. He actually had an aneurysm in his abdomen. He actually had 9 total surgeries within a year from that first fall where my mom called me. It was a roller coaster of emotions, of ups and downs. And one time he actually died for 5 minutes. He flatlined. One of his breathing tubes got clogged. It was crazy because I remember he was doing well and we had some victories, and then all of a sudden he's gone. It was really difficult, as you can imagine. So anyways, they cleaned up his breathing tubes, did the shock things. He flatlined for 5 minutes. They got him back to life by the grace of God. No brain damage, nothing, which is a miracle in itself. And so all that to say, my dad, by the grace of God, is still with us today. He's alive. He's doing very well, has his full mind. He's still in physical therapy, but is very close to walking again, which is a miracle. The doctors are so amazed by him that they're actually writing a book because they want to share his story, because he's a legit medical miracle. Even if he wouldn't have made it, he knows Jesus, he loves Jesus, and I'm thankful for his example in that, but I'm really thankful to still have my papa. So during that whole process, it was filled with ups and downs. And if I focused on what the doctors were telling me, if my family focused on that, if I focused on the circumstances, I literally felt like I was drowning. I felt like I was sinking. I felt trapped. I felt numb. I felt hopeless, right? But if I looked beyond those circumstances to God, who is an ever-present help in the midst of trouble, if I looked to him, my family and I were able to rise above those circumstances despite what was happening, despite what we were told. God gave us faith and hope to believe, sometimes for just the next minute, just to hold on. His love sustained us, and he was there every single minute of that process. I learned through this process that God is truly an ever-present help in the midst of trouble, that he's the God of all comfort, that he's the Father of mercies. And as we look to him, we could feel his presence, his love, and hope arising in our soul, faith arising. But I think of the story where Jesus was walking on water and Peter's in the boat and there's storms all around, and Jesus calls Peter out on a substance that he has no business walking on, right? And Peter steps out of the boat and actually starts walking on water. But the moment that he looks to the storms and he takes his eyes off Christ, he starts to sink. And that is exactly what I experienced during that time. If I looked at the circumstances, I sank. If I looked to Christ, I was able to rise above them. One thing I love about that story that I think gets overlooked is that when Peter starts to sink, Jesus actually reaches out his hand and he pulls him above the water. And that's what God did with my family. As we looked to him to find strength and hope, he sustained us every single step of the way. That's what above the water means to me. There is suffering all over this globe. And I wanted to encourage people that are maybe going through worse circumstances than I did right now. Or maybe you went through a difficult time in the past, or maybe you will go through something. Wherever you're at, I wanted to encourage you guys, the listener, to not focus on the circumstances, to look beyond those circumstances to the God who is an ever-present help in times of trouble, to be your strength, to be your victory, to be your hope during that time. And I know maybe the circumstances won't change, but I promise you that God's love will be with you in the midst of those things. And it sounds cliche, but his love truly is enough to sustain anyone. By the grace of God, my dad got to see my baby daughter. Her name is Selah Grace, which means pause and calmly think on the grace of God. His grace is truly sufficient throughout all this process. I was so thankful he got to hold my baby girl. I'm super grateful to still be able to talk with him today. So Above the Water is out now. I hope it encourages you guys. I spent countless hours. It's really a collective work from over 2 years. And so I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope it encourages you. Hope it blesses you guys. And I appreciate you taking the time to hear my story. God bless y'all.
Hold on a little longer.